Augustine of Hippo de Doctrina Christiana, Episode 3. Quod antequam exordiar, videtur mihi respondendum esse his, qui haec reprehensurdri sunt aut reprehensurdri essent, si eos non ante placaremus. Augustine continues, and he says, before antequam I shall begin that thing, quod, before I shall begin which thing, it seems to me that a response ought to be given to those persons who would find fault with these things or would have found fault with them if those persons I did not previously seek to placate or seek to appease. This sentence is what's called a complex sentence. There are three kinds, of course. There are simple sentences. These are the ones that have one verb. There are compound sentences. These are the kinds that have two or more verbs that are correlated. And then there are complex sentences. And these are ones that have two or more verbs, one of which is subordinated to the other. And these can be combined in various ways. This is a complex sentence because the main verb is videtur. We then have this subordinate clause, quod through exordiar, and we have this long relative clause from qui down through essent, and then we end it with the si eos non ante placaremus, which is the protasis of a conditional, that is the if clause of a conditional. So it's somewhat of a complicated sentence. The first part we will take is the subordinate clause, and it's rather straightforward. The verb is exordiar. This is a first singular, future, indicative, and it is passive because this is a deponent verb. Its object is quod, which is neuter singular and accusative. It refers back to what had come before, which is his project of explaining some principles for explaining the scriptures. So that thing, before I shall begin it, he says, it seems to me, videtur mihi, and often it's best to take this, I'm following the suggestion of Mike Fontaine, as I think. It seems to me, or I think that. This then introduces an accusative infinitive construction, respondendum esse. Respondendum is a gerundive, that is a future passive participle, and it is neuter singular and accusative as the subject of the infinitive esse. It's from the second conjugation verb respondeo, respondere, like so. I think that, or it seems to me that an answer should be given, or I think that I should respond to. Now it's going here with his, which is going to be masculine plural and dative as an indirect object with respondeo, because respondere, this verb, consistently patterns with the dative. You make an answer to a person, and that person is in the dative case. So when we get here to the end with esse, from videtur through esse, we have covered the kernel or the core of the sentence. I should say esse his, the rest is a modification. So who are these people his? They are those who, qui, they are those who will find fault with my comments, haec. So reprehensuri sunt is masculine plural and nominative. This is the so-called future active periphrastic. And reprehensuri is from the third conjugation verb reprehendo, reprehendere, like so, which means to find fault with. Who will find fault with these things, haec, neuter plural, accusative, or out, they would have found fault with them. So now we have the same participle, reprehensuri, but instead of the present indicative sunt, essent is the imperfect subjunctive, indicating a present contrary to fact, or they would find fault with them if this weren't true. And then we will get to the C clause. So he says, if those persons I did not beforehand or in advance seek to appease or please. So placaremus, first plural, imperfect, subjunctive, and it is active. Now it's first plural, but of course Augustine is referring to himself because it is standard in Latin to use the first plural to refer to oneself. So here is the conditional. If I did not, or if I were not to, please them in advance, placaremus eos, or calm them down in advance, those persons are the ones who would find fault with the principles I'm going to present. So when we have in the C clause, that is the protasis, when we have an imperfect subjunctive, which is what placaremus is, and when we have in the then clause, right, the then clause, which is the apodosis, if we have another imperfect subjunctive, the name of this conditional is a present contrary to fact. A present contrary to fact, also called sometimes praesens, here's the Latin for it, praesens irreale, praesens irreale, present contrary to fact.
Thank you so much for watching this free video. I hope that you learned a lot about the classical languages and advanced your knowledge and enjoyment. You can help us keep going with this instruction if you like this video and subscribe to the channel. We've had hundreds of thousands of views in the last 9 years, and we would really like to grow our number of subscribers. If you hit the little bell, you will be notified every time we release a brand new free instructional video. You can also check out one of my Latin or Greek courses at LatinPerDiem.com or mossmethod.com. Check the links if you'd like to study Latin and Greek with me directly. So keep learning, and vale tote omnes.